once you have multiple six figures, decisions you are making need to be both gut, but mostly data driven, because it's a lot of money if you make the wrong decision.
This is one of the coolest things about small businesses that use dashboards. Like, you are so agile. Like, you guys are like little speedboats. Guys, like, you can make some moves very quickly and efficiently if you know what you want to do. That is your superpower at this stage of growth.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Pivot to Profit. Today I have the amazing Layne Booth on this show. What's up, girl?
Hey, great to be here today.
Everyone, I want to introduce you to Layne. Layne Booth is known as the data metrics and KPI go-to for small businesses. She's spent more than 7 years developing systems in her very own agency, The Project Booth, to support small businesses to scale 7 figures and beyond by harnessing the metrics of growth. So this is going to be a great conversation about data and metrics and KPIs, and I can't wait.
I know, I saw your podcast releasing and I was like, oh my goodness, this is the best opportunity to like mesh both of these worlds together, because it can go beyond just the financial metrics, which I'm sure we're going to dive into today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we dive in, look, founder, business owner, if you need help understanding your numbers and figuring out why you got this crazy tax bill, just go to pamjordan.com. My team would love to talk to you to get your books straight, to increase your profit, reduce your taxes, and grow your wealth. So Layne, let's start at the very beginning. What did you want to be when you grew up?
So many things. It's like, depending on which age you asked me, I wanted to be an astronaut for a while. I wanted to be a baker for a while. And then I think for a long, long time though, I wanted to be a pediatrician because I just loved being around babies. And I was like, I get to be around more babies if I have that as my job. And so I held on to that one for a long time until, till high school years educated me a little bit further.
Right, exactly. Of like, pediatricians not just playing with babies.
No, then they're always sick when they see you.
Yes. So talk to me about what you were taught about money as a child. What did the household, your parents, grandparents, what did society tell little Layne about money?
Mm-hmm. Society told little Layne that money was hard to come by. It was hard to make it stick around. It seemed like you always had just enough to get the bare necessities. And that because of that, we should not want things that are too extravagant or things that came across as luxurious or beyond the true needs of what you needed to, get from A to B.
Isn't that amazing how that framework says you shouldn't want nice things, you shouldn't have nice things? Mm-hmm. So tell us about your career journey. How did you go from, I want to be a pediatrician, but not nice, have nice things, but also like, that's a whole lot of college, to like being a dashboard queen? Tell us how you got from A to B.
Yeah, well, actually, in my high school years, NC State, my alma mater, used to go around to high schools in the area and tell people, yep, go Wolfpack, and tell folks about some of the options that they had. And I really got interested in the engineering opportunities because I did find myself like I was a natural problem solver, process oriented person, like, maybe not always the one like creating the new ideas, but somebody has an idea and you need somebody to like run the play. Like, I was your girl. Like, I could get the thing done. And so that's where I started leaning into industrial engineering. That's where I got my degree and went straight into manufacturing out of college, and found that it was a very, there's a lot to get done on a regular basis, but it's also how I, cut my teeth in understanding workflows, really understanding the volume of different numbers that you could look at. How do you look at numbers to make better decisions so that the manufacturing floor can run more efficiently or effectively? You can produce more products while reducing stress on the equipment. All these things are kind of like the foundational tools of a lot of things that I still use today.
Awesome. So when did you step out of the wonderful world of manufacturing and into the world of dashboards? Tell us about that.
Yes. So I did enjoy my career. I spent time in manufacturing and then I got to develop into supply chain, very familiar with process flow and products and things like that. But by the time I started having I had my first daughter, I was like, wow, I'm in the office all the time. I don't feel like I can, hop away for these cute little preschool parties and little things. I'm working really challenging hours. And I was like, what, there's gotta be another way. There's gotta be a better way to do this thing called life with a job, with a career that actually is part of your life. Like it doesn't feel like it's taking away from one to, support your family. And so that's where I started leaning into, all right, well, what does it look like in the small business world? Like, could I become a consultant or something along those lines? And started just having conversations with small business owners. Like anybody that would talk to me during that first probably year, like probably got an earful because like, hey, do you happen to know any small business owners? I'm like trying to do these interviews and figure out like what people were, having challenges with. What are they trying to make happen in their business? And so a lot of just connecting in the beginning. And I found in those initial interviews, I was asking number related questions. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew the answers.
Surprise, surprise.
If this is such a key critical thing for multi-million, multi-billion dollar businesses, it's probably also critical for small businesses that want to get to multi-million dollar businesses. And so that for me was the real like starting point of like, okay, you know what? I think this thing has an opportunity here to start letting people know what's possible when they do have a better grasp on their numbers. And that's how I started stepping into kind of the consulting and service provider realm for small business.
I love it. So help us define what a dashboard is, because you say that you are the dashboard queen and that you build dashboards for growth focused entrepreneurs. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yes.
All of that.
Probably the most common question I get is, so that sounds cool. And what is it actually? What is a dashboard? And so I would say like probably the easiest, mental picture we can give everybody watching or listening right now is to think about the dashboard in your car. It is a set of numbers, gauges, metrics that are telling you the health of the car. So we know if we're going, forward or backwards. We know if we've got gas in the tank or we're running on empty. We know which direction we were headed because we plugged it into our GPS. All of these things are guiding you and letting you know, hey, can you make it to your destination? Are you going to need to do some pit stops or maybe some turns along the way to get there? And so it's very similar to the numbers that are critical for your business. And so whether it's marketing metrics or maybe team operational numbers that are important to look at. Maybe you've got like 17 spreadsheets that your team is, mining through each day to get their job done. Or maybe it's like the things that Pam and her team focus on the financials, on the bookkeeping and accounting side of things that are going to, help you stay profitable and make sure that, the IRS isn't knocking on your door anytime soon. So all of these numbers really become like the levers that you get to push and pull for like, all right, how fast do I want to take this thing? What decisions need to be made today based on the numbers that are around me? If my marketing is tanking, but my team is awesome, well, then how about maybe I lean into just facilitating current customers right now rather than starting a new marketing, idea. So these are like the questions that come up and bombard a lot of small business owners, and they just don't know what decisions to make. And so they end up stalling out instead of actually moving forward. And that's what the dashboard helps solve.
I love it. Yeah. I love the car analogy. When I talk about fractional CFO, I use a car as well. Because everyone understands it. So yeah, a dashboard for your business is the same as a dashboard for your car. It tells you, do I have gas? Can I get where I want to go? All of those gauges, and a lot of them, I'm not a car girl. So like a lot of the gauges, I don't even know what it talks about. What it's telling me, but if it's red or
like if it's in the red, it's bad, right?
Right. Exactly. So let's talk about how that conveys to business. How do you go about identifying what KPIs matter? Because I've met some entrepreneurs that track absolutely nothing and some that track a couple. And then I've had some that track everything under the sun, and it's just analysis paralysis, right? Like it's so many metrics that they're just frozen to make decisions because it's too much. So how do you identify what matters, what doesn't matter? Like there's a little gauge on there on my car. Like I ignore it. I don't know what it means. If it gets to the red, I figure there's a problem. But like, how do you help them gauge what to track and what not to track?
Yep. Great question. And we've actually, gone through this question so many times with so many business owners at this point in time. We've actually developed our own system for how to figure out what should go on a dashboard. And so we actually now follow what we call our ABC process. So step A is to always audit and analyze. Like before we just tell you, hey, this worked for the last guy, let's throw it on your dashboard too. What we want to do is let's see what is already churning. Let's look under the hood of your particular vehicle, your business, because what you're doing is probably, at least somewhat different from, somebody else. And so by looking at, and when I say audit analyze, I mean, we always start with what software are you already using? Are you using spreadsheets? Are you using QuickBooks? Are you on social media? Do you have an email list? Do you have a project manager or tracker? These are all things where data is already housed. We don't have to go create data. It's already there. And so oftentimes it's just getting access to those and really looking at what's happened over the last 12 months. What's happened over the last 3 months? Is it wildly different? Why? So some of these things really provide very quick, powerful insights to get a good understanding and baseline of what's been happening with the business.
So that's A.
Yep. So once we've got that step A done, then we're moving into step B, what we call basically the bottom line. At the end of the day, what's the bottom line that you're trying to achieve in your business right now? Are you trying to go from 1 million to 3 million? Okay. Then there's going to be different criteria than somebody that's going from 10 million to 40 million. There's going to be different things that are going to be critical. So are there certain projects? Are there certain key hires that are happening in the next 6 to 12 months? What is the trajectory? And how can we make sure that we're very clear on what those bottom line metrics need to look like? What are those bottom line goals that you're focused on? And that is going to allow us to really move into step 3, which is C, all about CEO clarity. So how can we take numbers, actually provide clarity and not confusion? Because I get it. If you were told you're supposed to look at the numbers and now you're looking at every single one, you just get overwhelmed and start going back to looking at nothing.
No.
So instead, if we can provide clarity at about, I'll say 15 metrics per dashboard is kind of where I cap it. And if we need, somebody's always but we've got so much going on. If we need another one, then we start breaking it out and grouping. So maybe I always start though with an executive dashboard. Okay. What are those top 15 metrics that the leadership team or the executive team is going to need to look at? And on Monday morning, when they're sipping their coffee, they can get a status update without bothering anybody on their team of what is actually happening in their business. And then if we need to, develop maybe a marketing dashboard, maybe a financial dashboard, those are some things as well. But we really want to keep it to just 15 per dashboard so that you can keep it clean and actually look at what's happening.
I love that. That's a great tip. 15 high level numbers that you can see big picture how your business is doing. And then if you need to drill down by department, totally have it. Love it. So talk to me about some mistakes that you see business owners making when it comes to KPIs and dashboards.
Yeah, I say one of the easy mistakes to make is I'll just look at whatever metrics the dashboard on my blah, blah, blah software is pushing in front of me. Because here's the thing, guys, your software that you're using wants it to look like they're awesome.
Little known secret.
So they're going to pick some metrics that are looking great. Facebook, what are they notorious for showing you? Here's how many followers you have, or here's how many views you got. Okay, that may be important for you, or it may not. So it's really coming what we figure out in that ABC process. We figure out, is that important to look at, or is it not? But I'll say a lot of people are looking at vanity metrics or metrics that are easy to get access to, but aren't necessarily helpful. So, we see this a lot with CRMs. So, hey, we're getting tons of, hits to this landing page. Okay. Is that important? Do we need traffic going to that landing page, or do you need traffic opting in to that landing page?
Is it converting at all?
What is the better number to be looking at here? And instead of really knowing what to look at. They're just like, well, this is something that I have access to. So that'll be something I start looking at because my business mentor told me I should.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes total sense because every software that I have has some sort of dashboard, but you're right. It's never telling me like want numbers. It's telling me like you're amazing numbers. So it is funny that you call that out because every CRM or whatever is just going to show you your highlight reel, not necessarily, okay, but just because people went to that landing page, how many people actually scheduled a call and converted into a client for us? Those are numbers that actually put money into your bank account.
One of the other probably notorious challenges that I see for small business owners, and one that we see happening once we start solving with the dashboard, is at some point your business is spending money to make money, right? Like you're investing in maybe a social media strategy, maybe a marketing strategy, maybe an ads agency, and they too are going to be sharing some really great numbers of the things that they're doing, but there's a disconnect from whatever's happening on the front end to, hey, is this flowing through to the back end? Can we see this financially, not just from a sales number, but from a profit margin number? Because now we do have sales, but we've got team that's now delivering on whatever has been sold in this situation. We had a therapy clinic that we were working with, and had a sales team, and she could tell that, oh, great, the ads are generating sales calls. But by the time the sales team sold something, they're like, now it's broken. Like, I don't know if, Brad, got the call from an ad or from our email list or from our social. And, all I know now is that, yay, we have sales and I've spent this much, but I don't know if it's connected.
Yeah. You got to be able to do
notorious.
something with it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I love that because so often business owners and founders have metrics, but then it's then what? Now what? And that's where, as business strategists, we come in because we take that information and help you understand now what. But I can see 100% people having those dashboards and being like, okay, everything's good, but then not taking action from it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's what ends up stalling out. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this as well, Pam, but so many times you're just a few inches, from that next, leveling up, and people will stall out because of just this fear of like, well, I don't know if I should make decision A or decision B. And it seems like it's just, a guess at this point. And really there's typically so many numbers that you could arm yourself with to feel like you're actually making a really well-educated decision and a data-driven decision versus, guessing with your gut.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about numbers, dollars and cents. So how do you incorporate the money side of the business into your dashboards? Because there's lots of metrics. If we're looking at 15 of them, what money metrics are you seeing are typically important to track?
Yes, great question. I'll say one of the ones we almost always start with is not just income, but income sources. Oftentimes, I think what happens, business owners are just so busy, just trying to keep everything together and keep it running, that you don't necessarily see the opportunity right in front of you when you start breaking down your income by different income streams. For example, we were working with a service provider that also had a membership platform. And she just kind of assumed that because her services were priced higher, that's where she was probably making the most profit and the most, certainly the most revenue, but not necessarily the most profit. And then when we looked at her membership platform, which was super easy to run, she's like, I do these 2 things a year. Everybody loves it. It flows really nicely. And lo and behold, like it was like 90% profitable. It was like 90% profit margin. And it was actually it was about 50-50 mix on the income side of things. Yeah. So we're like, how would you feel if we start phasing this out and we just go all in on membership? Or maybe you only, invite certain people to come into your services at maybe even higher rate now, because you truly want to do that, or they just feel like a, phenomenal fit. But oftentimes, like breaking down the income stream and really looking at profit margin by the different things that you're selling right now is such a game changer. Because here's the thing, guys, like y'all have heard of the 80-20 rule. Like it's happening all the time in your business. Like 80% of your revenue, 80% of your profit is coming from 20% of your efforts. So find
Amen.
that 80-20 and just like start cutting away, start phasing out the stuff that's not supporting you anymore.
A freaking man. We had a client in the salon, like hair salon space, and she thought like one revenue stream was slaying. And she was like, this is where I'm making all my money. It's fabulous. And then we ran the numbers. I'm like, actually, this little one over here is really where the money's coming in. Can we like do less of this and more of this? You know, like let that the effort is not equal. Let's make more money doing less work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't know if you have any, I see that a ton on the product or on the like services side of things, like hair salons, med spas, therapy practices, other, professional services. Then on the flip side, like on the product side, there's kind of a different sneaky money issue, which becomes cash flow with inventory because you're having to make buying decisions, 6 months, maybe more now with, the way the economy and world is continuing to change. But you're having to make buying decisions very early. And so actually one of the number one reasons we see that product businesses aren't growing is that they're underbuying. They're not buying enough to even support the growth. They're just buying enough to kind of keep things the same, like keep doing what they've been doing because that's where the comfort is. And it feels a little daunting, a little scary to actually start putting more and more towards that. But when we had a client, a local boutique shop that started applying this, like we were able to really look at her top sellers from the last season and give her better predictions based on stock outs and things like that.
Yeah.
We basically were like, hey, you need to spend like another $100,000. Like, I know you thought you were done shopping, but I need you to buy like another $100,000 for the goods. And she's like, really? Like, yeah. And then she had like her best Q4 ever. And so it's just a lot. This is one of the reasons why you really got to follow that ABC step. Because when you analyze what's actually happening under the hood of your own business, you will see different opportunities for growth.
Yeah. And a lot of business owners have a lot of capital tied up in inventory, but if they're not being intentional with that inventory, you can either make a pile of money or lose a pile of money. Mm-hmm. And so having that foresight to know that where I am today, I need to be buying for 3, 6, 9 months down the road. We have a couple manufacturing clients and their turnaround time for raw goods is like 9 months. So we're buying now for 9 months down the road in a crazy economy situation. Those are hard decisions. But if you have the clarity of the analysis of the data, you know how much you need to buy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then too, I think the other thing that becomes comfort is like, hitting your goals is not always like a dot. It's not just like, hey, if you hit this exact number, but also like, well, what's the kind of variation? Maybe if things, go a little bit sideways here or go a little bit sideways there, let's also give you a range of what could happen. And because sometimes like, we just think it's like all or nothing, like we're going to hit it or it's nothing, we're just going to, be paupers. But instead, when you can start kind of dialing things in to decide, well, if X, Y, and Z happens, this is where we'll probably land. Or if, these factors come into play, this is where things might land. Just gives a lot of more comfort and certainty on what the future holds for them.
And if you've been tracking data for over a period of time, we know that if these numbers align within this range, this revenue will come in at this profitability. So like having that data to prove that you've done this in the past helps entrepreneurs know you can do it again. So go buy the inventory.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. Start building more trust with the process, trust with yourself bit by bit.
Yes. So when it comes to building a dashboard, you have your ABC process, but where can you bring in that data from? Because every software has a dashboard, right? Everyone has Post-it notes or whiteboards or Google Sheets, right? But where is data that you can pull in and have it all centrally located? What are some data sources that you can tap into?
Yes, great question. Because again, like one of the things that we have found is that the more simple you can make the process, the more likely you are to actually use it and keep using it in in the future. So that's one of our goals as well, is like, how can we use the tools that you're already using and just use them in a different way? So I know there are some like pre-builds and things like that, but we have found just having a third-party dashboard software that is literally built to hook up to all the other tools that you're using in your business ends up being the simplest way to go, because like that is exactly what it was built for. It was not its secondary feature or third idea on how we can improve the platform, but that's what it was built for. So we happen to use one called Clipfolio, starts with a K, but happy to answer any questions about that later on. But you can use, what tool is going to work best for you. The key thing to look for, though, is it going to integrate? Is it going to hook up, basically have like a connection with the tools you're already using? So if you're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, all these things all of those data points can flow in to the dashboard. If you have a team and maybe they are using Asana or Trello or ClickUp or Monday, that information can feed over. If you have a CRM, HubSpot, ConvertKit, MailChimp, all these things, all of that information can flow. And then certainly QuickBooks, Xero, Wave, things like that can also pull together. So we're not, looking for anything that is going to be like our strategy. Like our strategy is to make your strategy work. We want to pull together the data that's already there and just make better decisions from it, make it more user-friendly and useful for the leadership team and for the kind of the boots on the ground, like the people that are in the day-to-day of it, also have access to, the key information they need to make better decisions going forward as well.
Okay. I love that. So that leads me into how often should a founder CEO be looking at the dashboard, and how often should the dashboard be updated? Because it can be overwhelming.
Yes. Well, the good thing is that, if you've got only 15 metrics that you need to be looking at, that in and of itself will like reduce the volume of what to look at. But I know it's kind of common for people to kind of have these like quarterly or monthly. But I found really minimum weekly is the thing to do. I mean, find your CEO time, and it really can be 15 minutes, like a minute per metric, people. Like we can do that. And the great thing about, cloud-based dashboards, you can look it up, on your laptop, on your screen. You can even, pull it up on your phone. They have mobile applications that I know I use when I'm traveling. And so I'm like, all right, let's just see how things are going. That looks good. Or, I need to message my team about, that registration thing looks a little bit weird. Let me ping them and ask them to double check X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But I would say like minimum on the weekly. And then, obviously we look at things a little bit more frequently since we're kind of data nerds, but weekly is a good spot.
Got you. So weekly cadence of looking at the top 15 numbers is a really good baseline to help a founder succeed. I love that. I love it. Perfect. So I think this is an easy, obvious answer, but who needs a dashboard, Layne?
I mean, I'll say like there are certainly, people outside of the realm I'm going to provide for you, but I have found that those are in the, the $500,000 mark, like multiple six figures. You are at if you start a dashboard, then you're going to be so much better off once you're in the millions.
Yes.
And if you're already in the millions, it was time to do this a while ago. So, but I find like kind of that 500,000 to maybe 3 million is typically the clientele that we see. And finally recognizing that, wow, there's like a lot coming through the business. I feel like I'm juggling, all these balls in the air, and I'm not sure what's happening from, this team or this contractor that I'm working with. And then, this strategy that I'm using. And so they're starting to question, like, am I actually do I actually have everything within my grasp? Am I actually managing things in a way that's not going to start backsliding? So that's tends to be what I see works really well.
I love it. Yeah. And because that's similar, the clients that we kick in as business strategists and financial strategists and CFOs and tax strategists, because at that point, you have enough money that there's enough data that you need to be making important decisions with. It's when you're first starting out, we all use our gut. It's like, that doesn't feel right. I'm not going to do it. That does feel good. Let's jump into this, right? Let's try and build this. But once you have multiple six figures, the decisions you are making need to be both gut, but mostly data driven, because it's a lot of money if you make the wrong decision. And so having that data in front of you on a weekly basis to say, this is working, this isn't working, let's dial down that spend. Let's up the spend over here. Really is a really trigger point. And you're right. We have clients that come to us. Recently just had a client in the service-based business doing 6 million and has no idea where her money is, no idea what's working in the business, and barely made payroll. And I'm like, oh my, okay.
Ouch.
Let's roll up our sleeves and get this figured out, right? And that's where having a dashboard for the past couple of years would have helped accelerate not to be in this spot of, oh, by the way, you're doing this thing and it's not working, so please stop.
Yes. And to that point too, I think one of the really helpful things that I do see people tend to start like maybe right before getting dashboard. Oftentimes they are starting to hire a bookkeeper or they've finally gotten QuickBooks installed. And while that is, fabulous, like because we pull so much data from QuickBooks, one of the things that I do just like to articulate that's a little bit different about dashboard metrics is it's the numbers prior to the money. And so oftentimes by the time the money does land in your bank account, like you've done the thing, like there's no going back and changing it. But if you're pulling in registration numbers for your next workshop that you're hosting and you notice that traffic is really low to that page, well, you can start doing things much earlier on before you close cart, before you close down the workshop. You can go ahead and start improving things and working on strategies ahead of time. So we really use the dashboard to focus on what we would then call leading indicators versus lagging indicators, which are typically, showcased in a financial perspective.
I agree 100%. The leading indicators let you know what's going to be in the bank. The lagging indicators tell you how much it hit it, right? And so being able to be proactive in your decision making as a CEO founder and say, oh, wait, we're down 10% this week. What happened? Where can we adjust before it actually hits the bank account or doesn't hit the bank account? Because at that point, it's done, like you said. The window has closed, so now you can just learn from it for next week.
Yeah, now it's just like I'll do it a little different next time. You can always use numbers to improve things next time. But I feel like if you are somebody that, and this is one of the coolest things about small businesses that use dashboards, like you are so agile. Like you guys are like little speedboats, guys. Like you can make some moves very quickly and efficiently if you know what you want to do. Versus, the Titanic, which had, too big of a boat and too small of a rudder to really make some pivots. But that is, I think, your superpower at this stage of growth. So if you're in that multi-six, maybe early multi-sevens figures in your business, like now is the time to really dial this in while you have this agility, because, you are on the trajectory for massive growth, but now's the time to really dial it in.
I love that. I agree 100,000%. So what is next for you? You've got your dashboard building business. You've got a program to help other people become dashboard builders, but what's next for Layne?
Yes. So I want to just get the word out that you can have simple data available to you for the small business space. So, we're getting some key foundational, things set up on our back end as well. But, I'm getting ready. I'm getting prepped. My kids are, about all school age now, but I want to get more into speaking. I feel like just like every business has a dashboard, has a bookkeeper, I think every business needs to have a dashboard as well. And if you need a support person to do that, I want to make sure people know that there are resources out there that, whether it's our team of dashboard designers or, other resources out there, they can help you with this. And so I just feel like more small business owners need to know that they can stop flying blind. Like this is available to you.
Awesome. All right. So let's wrap it up with some rapid response questions. So no explaining, just answer. You ready?
Okay.
Profit or growth?
Profit.
What's one business expense you'll never cut no matter what?
Ad spend.
What's the best money advice you've ever received?
focus on the results you want to provide to other people.
If you had to start over today, what's the first thing you'd do with your finances differently?
Put 10% in the bank on the beginning versus finding out about profit first later.
We love profit first. Let's go, Queen. What does financial freedom mean to Layne?
20K take home months takes care of not just our family, but all of the other amazing things we want to do.
Awesome. I love it. So Layne, thank you so much for sharing your profit story and the power of dashboards with us. Where can people connect with you?
Yes, I would love to connect with you. Come over to my website at theprojectbooth.com. There is that the in the front. So theprojectbooth.com, and follow me on Instagram at theprojectbooth as well.
Awesome. I love it. Layne, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us. I love this conversation. Look, business owner, if you need help understanding your numbers and knowing what metrics, please reach out to Layne. And if you need some bookkeeping, fractional CFO, tax strategy help, just go to pamjordan.com. Remember, it's not what you make that matters. It's what you keep. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.